Have you ever wished for something like a marshmallow tree that grew endless marshmallows? Well, you can grow marshmallow. It's not what you think, but it's related to what you think. So, on today's episode of Life's Potluck Buffet, we're going to talk a little bit about a sweet candy confection, the plant that gave it its name, and we'll ask the cards to tell us something sweet today on Life's Potluck Buffet. I'm John Paulus. Thanks for joining me. If you've been enjoying Life's Potluck Buffet, please subscribe. And if you've already subscribed, thank you so much. If you have a Brave browser, you can now contribute basic attention tokens to Life's Potluck Buffet with John Paulus on YouTube. Thank you for your support, and thank you for listening. I'll start with the Althea officinalis, which is known in English as a marshmallow. And if you look at the flower of it, it looks a lot like a hibiscus flower, and that's not a coincidence. The family of flowering plants that it gets lumped into is the family Malvaceae, which are, well, it's the mallow family, and hibiscuses are part of the mallow family. So it's no coincidence that the marshmallow looks like a hibiscus. And in fact, it more than looks like a hibiscus. The original name hibiscus meant marshmallow, referring to this exact plant. And the marshmallow forever has been common in places in Africa, West Asia, Europe, and it's been used as a food and a medicinal herbal, especially the root, for, well, ages. In terms of the sweet candy confection that eventually would be called marshmallow in English, the important part of the marshmallow was the root. You see, in France, the root was used to make a confection, probably for its herbal and medicinal properties. The scientific name, the officinalis, that when that gets added to something, that means it has medicinal, culinary, or other edible uses. And that's because the word officina in the Neo-Latin of plant names refers to a pharmacy or apothecary. And so officinalis means a plant that's appropriate to be found in such a place. And as the song goes, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down in the most delightful way, or something like that. The marshmallow began to be used as a confection, a candy treat. And the confection was well known in France as pâté de guimauve. And guimauve is the French word for marshmallow. And pâté means dough or paste, and you might be familiar with it from various liver pâtés that are pastes, and other types of pâtés that you may have eaten. But the word pâté in French doesn't need to be the liver kind. In this case, it was a marshmallow paste. And the marshmallow paste was made by combining the roots of the marshmallow. By the way, the mauve part of marshmallow is from malva, which is a Latin word for mallow, which is where we get the Malvaceae, the mallow family. That's the same word. And the ghee part of it apparently somehow comes from a corruption of the word hibiscus. It takes a lot of etymological gymnastics to make that work, so we'll just leave that there. The marshmallow paste that was made in France consisted of either the um, mashed up root of the marshmallow or the water of a boiled root of marshmallow. There is a video, which I'll put in the description, of some of these recipes being made and tasted. And so that will be entertaining if you're interested to find out how to do that in case you have marshmallows around your house and you want to make the original marshmallow. So the pâté de guimauve had the root itself or the boiled liquid of the root in it. And it seems to be, when mashed, kind of sticky. And the flavor, well, the people who tried it kind of ranged from the flavor of grass and bark to the flavor of banana peels, which is interesting. I've never eaten the peel of a banana. I wonder what. Well, maybe I'll have to try. So the other ingredients in these French recipes are egg whites as a stiffener, and the protein in egg whites, albumin, holds the structure and the air, and that's the whole point. Is to make an airy, fluffy marshmallow or a marshmallow fluff, that protein is going to be critical to it, because you need something that's going to dissolve into the water and also not mix smoothly with air. Otherwise, you can't hold an air bubble. It's kind of like gluten in bread making. You need that protein for the structure to hold the bubbles of air that get created in the process of baking. And so in a modern sense, the thing that gets added to your marshmallows that you just put in your hot chocolate, the egg white isn't used, but rather gelatin. And gelatin is mostly a collagen that is from animal parts. So, say pig's feet or cattle bones. And that's the substance that is used to make other confections, candies like jelly beans or gummy bears, the things that have a jelly consistency or a gummy consistency. Those involve that gelatin, but not jellies, which usually involve pectin, which comes from things like apples or orange peels, which have a lot of pectin in them, and which is why marmalade made out of bitter oranges boiled in sugar and water is in a jelly form. And those gel capsules of medicine are often made out of gelatin as well, although there are certain plant-based alternatives to it that involve plant equivalents like forms of cellulose. So that is the kind of gel stiffening, air trapping part of this. There is also the critical part, which is sugar, since we're making candy. And the sugar is usually made into syrup, certainly nowadays. The sugar syrup is added to the rubbery gelatin and water combo that had been prepared already. And the final ingredient is the flavoring and usually nowadays corn syrup. And the reason the corn syrup gets added is that it prevents the sugar from crystallizing, because the corn sugars, one of the corn sugars in corn syrup, prevents that crystallization, so you don't have sugar crystals again. So that's actually helpful in stabilizing it. And then nowadays that mixture gets either gets air introduced into it, and if you do it in a artisanal fashion, that might mean a very large industrial mixer with a whisk attachment on it, and you get your marshmallow fluff. And that marshmallow fluff then, in the artisanal version, gets put onto a big table and smoothed out, and then it gets some powdered sugar over it. And this powdered sugar is important because powdered sugar has cornstarch in it, and cornstarch has long been used as a way to make jelly and candies and related candies, because the molds are not going to be very useful because the jelly is going to stick to a mold. So the process got created, which is what is called a starch mogul, where you basically impress the shape of something. So say you're making gummy worms, you have a worm shape. Usually it's continuous and up and down in a big, very large tray filled with cornstarch, and the something impresses the shape of the gummy worms into the cornstarch, and then there's a machine that puts the jelly gelatin substance into the molds, and then that's then dried and then tumbled, and air blows over it to get the cornstarch off of it, and so you then have your gummy product. So in order for it to hold the shape and not stick to the mold, you have that. And so for marshmallows, even marshmallows that are produced commercially in very big extruders, there's still this point at which a powdered sugar, which has cornstarch in it, gets dumped over the finished product, and usually before it's cut, and then you have the kind of like a surface that is not going to be sticky. It's basically a dry, smooth surface that is now mostly nonstick. There's nonstick enough to not cause problems of having individual pieces of the marshmallow or the candy or whatever you're making. Okay, let's draw a card and see what sweet things the cards have to say to us. So, yellow lemons, blue dumplings, magenta noodles. Cards, tell us somethings. Should put marshmallows in that chant. All right. Here we go. It's card 38. You are what you hate. So think about something that you criticize or despise or say you hate, and, like a job, and then try saying, I love blank, and fill in that blank with the hated job, and see how that feels, and see what you mean when you're saying that you hate it, because love and hate are two sides of the same coin, and when you understand the reasons behind the feelings, you'll learn a lot about what you need to do in your life and how you need to go about doing it. And I'd love to have you join me tomorrow on another episode of Life's Potluck Buffet.